What up? What up? What up? Hope everybody's having a great start to your Monday, and that you are looking for some good conversation this evening. We are going to be having a conversation that I think is timely, especially as we start to move into a different season. And this comes actually, the subject matter comes from a conversation that I was having with a client that I'm working with and or potentially going to be working with. And he asked a question about his style. And this was where I wanted to start talking about developing more of your style, what it's going to say about you and how you can wear it. Remember, this is a conversation, not a lecture. Unless nobody has any questions or thoughts, then we will have something to talk about. So today, I wanted to ask you a question. When you look in your closet, how many times are you wearing your items? And this is going to break down, of course, into the consciousness of your style, the construction of your closet, and ultimately what that communicates about you. So you always know that we're going to be triple C's: consciousness, construction, and ultimately communication. And I started thinking about this because the client that I was meeting with today, we were talking through his through a piece that he was getting. And one of the things that I always will recommend is when you try it on to see how it fits you, is to make sure that you have four ways that you can wear a given item at a given time. And a lot of guys are surprised at this because they'll be like, well, it works for this. Why can't I just wear it, once? And you can. You have that ability, right? You have that option if you want to, but that often limits the ability for you to utilize your clothing. Now, this isn't going to be in every situation. You are not going to wear a tuxedo to breakfast. I mean, unless you're fancy, right? You're not going to wear PJs to the office unless you're working from home. You don't got to be on camera, right? That's a different situation as well. But for the most part, your items should be able to be worn interchangeably on a given space. And so a lot of guys don't think about the utility of their items. And one of the things that I always philosophize and I always speak to is that you should have a uniform. A uniform is going to provide you with a status, right? It is going to show you and show others your standard. And it'll also show your station. It'll show where you're going to be in different situations. An Army dude doesn't dress like a Navy dude, who doesn't dress like an Air Force dude, who doesn't dress like a Naval dude. They all have different stations for their service. And if you're in the military, thank you for your service. And they're also going to have different states and standards that they find themselves in. Zeb Color said, people wear pajamas to my office in the World Trade Center. They have no shame. It's like a lot of people. I hope that you're not wearing PJs to the World Trade Center, but to any office, right? It shows a lack of professionalism and a lack of awareness. Even if you're proficient at your job, Anywho, I'm not going to get on the soapbox about that. But when we start thinking about your uniform, this is something that you should be able to repeatedly wear. There is that old adage that we've heard people say, there's nothing like a man in uniform, right? On the same space, you can create a uniform for yourself. And it's important to understand that uniforms have symbols. So you can have a uniform with a red shirt and a pair of khakis, and you're going to think of which brand, right? If you have the chance to write it. I want to see if you're going to give me one of two brands. There's two brands really that you could think of. And since some of you guys are typing slow, first one could be Target, right? The second one could be State Farm, right? Jake from State Farm, or the original Jake from State Farm, when he was like, what are you wearing, Jake? And he's like, khakis, right? So there's the branding there. Just like that, if you have a suit and tie on, depending on the type of suit you wear, the slickness of it, the tailoring of it, there's going to be an association or symbolism with your personal brand. So having a uniform is going to be something that will show your standards, your state, and your station in life. But it also breaks down into three categories. So you have your uniform, which I just spoke about. Then you also have how you inform the world about your position, your stylistic philosophy or perspective in life. So this is when I tell a lot of guys, if you want to be, if you're in a dating chapter in your life, right, you may want to inform the opposite sex, that's how you're rolling, that you are out here single, ready to mingle, right? And you do this subtly with color, you do this with pattern, texture, you do this with the way that the item is layered, right? So all these other different types of things will inform somebody about you. And even if you find yourself in a relationship, you can still create those dimensions. Even though I'm married, I still enjoy my wife being able to enjoy the different fabrications, the patterns, and the colors that I'm wearing. But also, there's still a level of sensuality, even in a professional setting, in a social setting. So, sensuality is not about sexuality, it's about the enriching or the enrichment of the senses. So, you can have on something that's still going to be textural, that's going to have a good feeling and a good vibe, and people will want to rock with it. That's just how it goes. So you have that uniform that you can inform the world about when you step out. The last aspect that you'll have is your formulation, the formulation of your literal form. So this is you in form, you in, and then a form that will allow you to have the items that best reflect your posture, your position, your pitch, your stature, your silhouette, all these different types of elements. And on top of that, it will also be how you formulate looks that work together. So the client that I was working with today, he was saying like, "Oh, I didn't." When we were going through different looks, we saw this beautiful green striped jacket that he picked out. Great piece. And I asked him, okay, how many ways are you going to wear this? And so he was giving me one or two ways. And when we started to go through, I was like, well, have you considered pairing it with this type of shirt, with this trouser, if you wanted to dress it up? If you wanted to uh, pare down your look, then you could throw on these trousers. You could throw on this shirt, these pairs of shoes. And it totally reimagined the overall look that he was thinking about. And it gave more range to what he was going to wear. Uh, One of our guys, Zev Kohler, said, my wife called, I missed the question. Essentially, how many ways do you wear your items in your closet, right? How much wear are you getting out of your closet? So when he started thinking about this, not only was it how many ways could he wear it, it was also how many situations could he put himself in. So when I'm working with my clients and we're doing virtual or we're doing in person, my goal, especially when we first start working together, is to create a capsule collection and 4 power looks that they can utilize for their personal brand. So a lot of guys don't think about this, but you should have a go-to look for your profession. You should have a go-to look for your socializing. You should go have a go-to look for your relaxing and your leisure time, pastime, hobbies, any of those things. You should have something that is uh, a look that you can wear just kind of kicking it, not necessarily kicking it around the house. I don't include like streetwear or like overly casual situations. If you're gonna plop on the couch for the day and catch up on Netflix, you probably don't care what you wear, right? So that doesn't really count. I'm talking about like if you're hanging out with friends to go watch the Super Bowl, or this past weekend when you watched this trash All-Star game. Dunk contest was all right. Like McClung did his thing, but outside of that, it's kind of trash. And so was the styling for some of these fellas, right? You can wear those things for that. So the conscious thing that a lot of guys run into, because I just saw Zev say that he wears his clothing a max of 2 times, right? And the Mr. Beast, no, not Mr. Beast. So In these spaces, what will often happen is I'll talk to guys and they want to get cool looks. They want to get something that's dope and that people are going to appreciate. Like, man, where'd you get that type of pieces? And when I ask them, okay, well, how many ways are you going to wear this? When are you going to put this on again? How can you pair this to create another look? They hesitate. So this particular jacket was that the client that was looking at it was the sage minty green. So it was a little bit lighter than sage, but this minty green, and it was almost, it was striped, but it was almost like rolling blazer stripes. So very thick, thin um, looks. And so as we started to look through these different this jacket with different looks, I wanted to make sure that he was very much aware, like this is a punchy, poppy jacket, right? People are going to notice this jacket, they're going to remember it. And he asked this question that I'm rephrasing a little bit, but he said, like, oh, okay, is that essentially a bad thing? And I was like, it's not a bad thing, but it is something to be aware of. So a lot of times when you are thinking about wearing jackets or wearing these pieces again, and guys want to get these cool looks, they don't fully flush out the thought process behind how many times they can, they should, or they will wear an item. So I can't tell you how many times a guy has come, we've worked together. Sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't. And we get them a relatively plain but colorful jacket. So this is a guy who wants to get a canary yellow sport coat, right? Or wants to have a lime green sport coat or a pair of lime green pants, Nantucket red trousers, Madras we talked about today. So Madras jacket or Madras pant, and it's dope, right? They're like, oh man, I got this event coming up. I'm gonna kill it with this. And then after that, when I talk to them for a follow up, I'm like, yo, that great jacket we got, the great pair of pants we got, have you worn that again? Like, nah, bro, can't let them see me in it twice. And I'm like, when did you become a celebrity, bro? When did you become the guy that everybody needs to see? Like that's taking pictures, like if you're not having anybody who's taking pictures of you, who cares? Like, why not just wear that piece again? Well, man, I took some pictures on Instagram. Okay, like that was 2 months ago. Why not put it on again? And guys don't think about their threshold of style. So a threshold of style essentially says, I have this much that I'm going to allow myself to put on or to wear on a given occasion. Now, me personally, if I wear a colorful jacket, that may get worn 4 or 5 times within a month. And we'll talk about why when we start talking about constructing our wardrobe. But there is leverage within those pieces. So some guys will see something and it could be like a seersucker jacket, right? Classic seersucker, white, blue, and they'll wear it once in the summer. And I'm like, bro, are you crazy? Like, why don't you put that on again? Nah, that's too much. So I want you to think about the items that you get, the statement pieces that you're getting, and how many times you're actually able to make a statement. And we're going to talk about how to extend this a little bit further, but I've already kind of given you the blueprint in order to do this. So as we begin to construct his wardrobe, this interesting thing happened. When we started talking about different looks that he could put together, he started to see them in different spaces. So for instance, when we first looked at the green jacket, I wish I could pull up a picture. I don't know how to use this that well yet, but we'll have imagery soon. He had a jacket that was primarily seeming like it was going to be for social interactions. And then I was like, hey, what would happen if we paired this with a powder blue shirt, a great pair of cream trousers, right? And a pair of loafers. Well, now he has something that was socially more dressed up. It was professionally casual, right? For a casual Friday, or if he's in a dressed down environment, that's still a very professional look. He also could then pair that with a t-shirt and or a crew neck sweater, very lightweight. And he would have something that he could just kind of kick back in, go to the bar, sports bar, watch a game, go to a friend's house, just hang out, kick it, and it was a good look. And then if he really wanted to be ultra casual with it, he could throw that on with a t-shirt and a pair of jeans and sneakers, and it still would be a cool look when he was just walking through the day, running for groceries, any of those different types of situations. And yes, you can still look nice when you go get groceries because you never know who you're going to meet, especially if you're single, right? So he started to see that there was diversity. So when we start thinking about your looks, I want you to think about some of these statement pieces that you have and really start to put it in your closet, right, against other things. Can you pair this with a dress piece? So maybe that's not a dress shirt or button down. Maybe that's a pair of slacks. So you may have a great pair of trousers that you can throw this on with. Or maybe this is a sweater or a knit that you can put this with. Maybe this is a piece that you can put with chinos or with a jacket. When you start to think about these different types of elements, you can start to see how all of these pieces can really work together. I had another client, and I saw this actually. I took this from GQ probably at this point 10 years ago. There was a photo shoot that Big Sean did, and it's actually still one of my favorite looks. He had on a denim trucker jacket, right? So 5 pocket trucker jacket, denim. I think it was a Levi's, and the back collar was popped up, but he had on a gray turtleneck, a beautiful brown belt with a pretty moderately sized buckle, and then a great pair of gray flannel trousers. Now, this was for the fall and winter, of course. And I remember thinking about how dope and how great that look actually it was because it was showing sophistication in a very casual space. So this was something that he could wear if he was in a creative space or in a casual work environment that was still easily transition to social interactions right after that. If he was going to happy hour, or if he was going to take a young lady out on a date, or go to the sports bar to watch the game, he could wear those pieces in any one of those given scenes or scenarios. And then on top of that, he could take that into the summer. So that jacket could easily be worn with a t-shirt. It could be worn with a polo or pop over. It could be worn with a dress shirt. And all of these different types of pieces would look good. If you wanted to pair that with another pair of darker or lighter denim, because we don't match denim, right? Remember that. Um, or he could throw that on with a great pair of heavier chinos. He could throw that on with a pair of cords for the spring. There's all these different types of pieces and ways that he can put the look together to create a different expression. And it's all from the same piece. And even if he had on something that was a little bit louder or more colorful, right? Todd Snyder, a great procurer of cool pieces. I wouldn't necessarily call him a designer, but he has some pretty cool pieces in his collection. He had, I think last season or 2 seasons ago, this suede trucker jacket. Beautiful, dope. And I was thinking about all the things that I could do for a client in that piece that would make him look sophisticated, refined, and dope, right? But it would be a statement piece. It would be a piece that people would pay attention and intention to. So there's ways for you to leverage your pieces for each and every place that you may find yourself in. Even this sweater, a lot of people have seen. It's not a overly colorful piece, but it does have some details, right? Whether it's the stripes, the patch pocket, the finish on in the texture on the sweater, all these different types of elements can make it a little distinctive. And people have said like, well, how many times did you wear this in a month? And I'd be like, you may see me in it 6 or 7 times. And they're like, well, how? Well, I'll throw this on with a white button Oxford shirt, a pink shirt that I have, a turtleneck, a crew neck. When I'm just hanging out, chilling, I can throw this on with a pair of my sweatpants that are drawstring, and then I can throw that on with a pair of sneakers. I can throw this on with a pair of jeans. my high-waisted trousers. If I want to dress it up a little bit, I can throw this on with a pair of jeans. I don't really wear jeans like that, but I compare it with that. So there's all these different types of things that I can wear that are still dope. They're still universal but unique in these different places that I may find myself in. So you should have repeatable items that are in your wardrobe. And here's a dope thing. You can have very expressive pieces. You may have a lot of novelty dress shirts, right? You may have a lot of colorful dress shirts that are bingle stripes, that are gingham checks, tattersalls, uh, puppy toots, right? Um, graph, graphic, um, graphic paint. The graphic more grid like designs. You may have something that has floral prints on there, right? You can have a very fun and colorful wardrobe and still have pieces that you can repeat over and over again. You may have a colorful jacket collection. That's fine too. You should be able to put these pieces together in 4 or 5 different ways. So when I'm working with the client and we pull a piece, even if they're like, or if they're like, I love it, I want to lay out 10 different ways that they can wear it, right? 10 different pieces that one garment can wear. Because what does this communicate about us ultimately? Well, what that communicates about us is, one, we know what we're doing, right? Um, hold on. I just want to see something. I just wanted to double check it, make sure if you guys are leaving comments on YouTube, I apologize. It wasn't showing up, so just keep typing them in. Um, and so if I'm having a conversation with somebody and they can't wear some of their pieces over and over again, then it makes me question their credibility when it comes to them being stylish. If you have to switch up your look for different situations, then you're either in the wrong spaces or you're not really being true to your style. So I'm the type of guy, when I used to go out to the club, even if I was at a hood club, I'm gonna have on a jacket, I'm gonna have on a dress shirt. I may switch up uh, my trousers for a casual pair of chinos or something like that, but I'm probably gonna still be relatively dressed up. There was a spot here in Atlanta called S.O. that I used to go to 10 years ago, I would say now, 10, maybe 12 years ago, when I first came back to Atlanta. And that was a pretty good spot, right? But I would dress up so much, and I was so different that I would go into the club and dudes would be laughing at me in line because I was dressed up. I wasn't really tripping because I was used to it. I had been laughed at before when I had first lived in Atlanta, and guys were still throwing on the long white tees, the Jabos, and the Air Force Ones with the Gucci or the Coogee or the LV fake fabric, right? So it was fine. But when the guys would see the attention that I was getting from young ladies, partly because I was just different, I was something unique within that space, their looks would change. It wouldn't be so funny anymore, right? And when I would go there 1 or 2 weeks in a row, and I had no business being in there, if I'm being real, um, they would appreciate that, the second or third time around. This also happened when I lived in Austin, my hometown. I would dress up. Dudes would be like, he doing too much. He think he all that. But by the time I left, a lot of those same guys were trying to throw on more dressy clothes, right? They were making efforts and inroads with their ensembles. So, oh, sorry about that. That was loud. Um, so a lot of times when we start thinking about our personal style, you want to have something that you are frequently utilizing. And this also becomes part of your reputation. This becomes part of the rapport that you create in a space. So when I used to get dressed and I would go out, people knew who I was, if for nothing else, than because I was the guy who was always dressed well. And it didn't require much because I didn't have a lot. I had a blue blazer, but it was peak lapel. It was like an old school wide peak lapel. That's what got me into wider lapels. Vintage cavalry twill, and it was rope shoulders. Right, it was a very aggressive jacket, but it was a blue blazer essentially. And I remember for a time that was really all I could wear. But I had all these different shirts. I had some pants and trousers that I could mix it with. So that's what I would wear out. And people would be like, "Oh, you look nice, man. Man, you always come in here. You always looking nice." That afforded me a few entries into the space when I should have had to pay for free. That allotted me free drinks a few times. That allotted me access to other spaces because of what I was presenting and what I was wearing. And so very early on, I started to realize the reputation that could be provided, just bearing that I didn't act a fool once I got into these spaces, that would give me access. Well, as we get older, that's even more important. It is important that you look like you command the space when you're handling your business. If you are an entrepreneur, this is a space that allows you to say, listen, one, I don't have time to be worried about what I'm wearing, but I also don't have time to just be looking any type of way. Or if I'm in business in a very high stress or high performance business, I don't have time to be worried about what I'm looking like and what it says to me. Now, we've seen this on the casual side. We've seen this with Mark Zuckerberg, with Bill Gates, and that now famous picture that a lot of fellas within my network will see. And it says, two billionaires with not a chain in sight, or no chain or labels in sight. That's cool. But everybody always overlooks the amount of money that they're spending on those t-shirt and jeans that they're wearing. They're not getting them from Walmart, right? These are, and they're not getting them from Gucci or Louis Vuitton either. These are very expensive pieces because they're quality. And so when we start thinking about those elements, if you invested in a quality item, why wouldn't you wear that frequently? Why wouldn't you put that on over and over again? It's going to then become something that you are associated with. It's going to be something that people start to marry qualities that you have with, right? That didn't sound right. They marry the qualities that you have with the qualities of those pieces and the personal brand that you're creating. That's what I meant to say. And that goes across all spaces. So that goes across your professional space, that goes across your social space, that goes across your interpersonal or romantic space. So let's look at each one of these examples. If you're the guy who shows up not necessarily in a blazer, right? Everybody doesn't need to be in a blazer in their professional settings. But maybe you throw on that denim trucker jacket. Maybe you throw on a shirt or a chore jacket, which is becoming very, very prominent in today's society, right? Maybe you're throwing on a tech jacket. So we have this beautiful technical jacket from a company called Scabal, and it looks very tactical. It's not even really a tech jacket; it's more of a tactical, not quite safari jacket, but it has these elements: patch pockets, action back, belted in the back that you because you have an elastic waistband that you can tighten. It's just dope, right? But it's in a tech fabric. And I have a guy who's like, man, every time it rains, I always throw that on. And he knows he can dress it up, he can dress it down, he can put it over his suit jacket so it becomes kind of like a makeshift trench coat or a tactical trench coat. He knows he can pack all the stuff that he needs in it. And so it has utility, uniformity, and uniqueness. It's these things that he can start leveraging to make a statement without being over the top, right? And so in those same spaces, when we start thinking about the quality of the clothing that we're getting, the quality of the clothing that we're utilizing, we start saying, oh, I don't really need that much because I can throw these things on. I can put these things on over and over again, have them in a rotation, and people pay attention to me because of my intentional image. And so when we're thinking about these elements of our style and our dress, I really want us to lean into those qualitative items that we can leverage. And if it's loud or it's extra or it is fun, we can do that. So we have the professional setting. Let's just use that tactical jacket, right? So he may wear that with a button up or a chambray shirt, right? Coming into summer, chambray is going to be fun and going to be something guys are utilizing again. A great pair of chinos, dressier chinos, so they're not going to be super lightweight and flimsy. They're going to have some structure to them, And let's say he throws that on with a great pair of lace up sneakers or lace up boots, especially for the spring. Then for the social element, he really keeps on the same thing, but maybe he switches out the chambray shirt for a crew neck sweater, right? Something with a pop of color or a fun design. It's striped, nautical, right? Or he adds something that is interesting for it. So now you have your social look. And he can wear that when he's networking. It's inviting. It is something that will create conversation. Man, that's a really nice jacket. Man, appreciate it. Do you mind if I ask you where you got it from? Or if the young ladies, depending on the type of young lady that you attract, right, in these social settings, you may find the young lady who's like, wow, that you look really nice. Or you're gonna get the asshole ladies. Ladies forget they can be assholes too, right? But the asshole ladies, and they'll be saying something to the effect of, "Oh, you just think you're just fancy, huh? Or you're just cute. You just think you're just too cute, huh?" Or my favorite, I like your little jacket. Oh, I like your little jacket. And you have to remind her, there's nothing little about me, ma'am. Just remember that. Nothing little. I'm taller than you, have more heft than you. So let's relax. But it allows for you to socialize. The other thing that I like about that tactical jacket, for instance, is if I'm in a crowded space, you can throw that on. Something gets spilled up on you. It's tactical. It's rain resistant, not repellent, but it's rain resistant. So if something gets on you, you can go get a napkin pretty quickly, wipe it off, and nobody's the wiser, right? And it has some staying power within that space. And then let's say he's gonna throw it on in a romantic or a interpersonal space, right? And interpersonal doesn't necessarily have to be romantic, but it's more intimate. So you're in a smaller group. You are going to a get together at a friend's house. So there's only 6 to 10 people there, and there's a lot more commingling and interaction on a personal level, or you're on a date. This is something that is still going to play very well if he just wants to throw it on with a great, well fitted, dressier t shirt, a great pair of jeans, and a great pair of sneakers, cool socks, because he may need to take his shoes off once he walks into the space. And it's a great look. And even if he's just kicking it to go out to the grocery store and he has on just a white tee, a great pair of jeans, and his Stan Smiths, it's good. And he's great in the leisurely space. And if he wears that 5 to 10 times, that's 4 times that he could have worn that on within a given week. But if he throws it on 10 more times in a month, nobody's gonna say, I can't believe he's wearing that jacket again. Because he'll be pairing it with different looks. Because I haven't even talked about colors, textures that he could be putting those things on with that will completely change the dynamic of the wardrobe that he's wearing. So when you really start thinking about this, you start to realize you don't have to have a lot to say a lot with your style. And this is why I'm very I always get excited for the guy who's like, I don't have a lot of money to spend. I may only have a certain amount of money within allocated for my budget to spend on clothing. I get excited for those guys because they're going to see the benefit of getting very strategic with utilizing their style. They start to say like, "Oh, I don't have a lot of pieces, but I got a lot of different ways that I can wear them." This is why you hear that the conversation that was happening and everybody was going viral with you got 5 suits, a black suit, a gray suit, a tan suit. What do you say? Black, gray, tan, uh, black, gray, tan, blue, and whatever the other suit was, and then you get your 3 shirts, and you got 75 looks, right? That's true, but most guys aren't going to need suits. So the smarter thing to me would have been you need five jackets, right? It's easier to say 5 suits because I get it, you get a jacket and a pant, but in reality, you're just utilizing the colors that he's talking about, that Steve Harvey's talking about. So you can leverage those things to tell great stories. But if you had 3 to 5 jackets, right? Let's say you have 5 jackets that you invested in. You have 5 to 10 shirts. Let's say you go on the higher side and get 10 shirts. You get 4 pairs of pants, right? Then you get 3 pairs of shoes. That's almost a year's worth of looks, right? So if you're in that space where you really start to think about being strategic with your look, then you one no longer question how many ways can I wear that, because you now have thought about it. I got 4 different ways that I can utilize that. You now know that you can keep on reaching for that item in your closet because it is going to look good on you, and there's different ways and scenes, spaces, and scenarios that you can wear it in, that we just talked about it. And it'll ultimately communicate that you have competence, you have confidence enough in your pieces to wear them again, and that you are creating a reputation that people can get behind. The guys who have to keep on switching up their style depending on the spaces that they're in are not thermostats, they're thermometers. They only play on the temperature of the rooms that they are in, and they adjust themselves for them. But a person who's a thermostat can change the dynamic and the energy of a room simply by his presence. And that's a true man of style. When a guy who has style comes in, well tailored piece that fits him physically, but also with his personality, he now changes the dynamic of the space that he's in. So much so that when he walks out or when he leaves and goes to the next space, people feel that absence, and it will change the dynamic of that room. And if you can change the dynamic of the room, then you can start changing the perception of others and really make a statement with your style. So I want you to try this on, see how it fits you. If anybody has any questions, by all means, let me know. I'm still providing a complimentary one-on-one snapshot of your style. So if you really are looking to figure out what your facial structure says about you, what your shoulders and your physique say about you, what pieces and colors you should be looking at and wearing, and how you can put together a capsule wardrobe, then by all means, send me a email at info@stylearchitects.com. So that's info at stylearchitects.com, and we can schedule a time for us to do a one-on-one. One-on-one will be about an hour and a half, maybe a little bit longer. But we will go over your snapshot of style and really start to develop your wardrobe, and it's complimentary. So you have nothing to lose. Only thing that you have to provide is some feedback on the experience so I can make it better. So that's it. I'm only doing that for 10 people. We already had one slot that was filled. So we have 9 spaces available. And once that's done, I'll take that feedback and create something amazing for you guys and continue to give you guys this great game. Outside of that, all you gotta do is be great today. But remember, you already are. So now all you have to do is show up and show out in style, remembering that dress is nothing more than the expression of a man's state of mind. So you, yes, you should always dress to address your life and your style. I'll see you next week. All right. Peace.